All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you live on this Friday night to preview the Rams matchup on Sunday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at SoFi Stadium. Jake, the Rams are back in primetime. It's a big deal. All eyes are going to be on them. They're going against a familiar friend, Baker Mayfield, who leads the charge at quarterback for the Bucs. And we were just talking about this before we went live. There's always this added nervousness a little bit. Not even if you think that your team is going to win. And we're going to talk about the Rams. Spoiler alert, we feel confident in the Rams in this matchup for reasons we're going to get into. But the stakes are always higher in prime time. So it is always this like added dynamic when you watch your team play in primetime and everyone in the country will be tuned in.
Yeah, I don't know how many people realized it before they saw the title or if they didn't realize the title, but I said, can Matthew Stafford and the Rams finally win again on Sunday night? The last time that they have won in Sunday Night Football was 2021. It was also Matthew Stafford's first game as a Ram and his first win as a Ram against your Papa Don's Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, they didn't have a game in 2022, mainly because that game was flexed out. It was supposed to be Rams-Chargers. The Rams had a bevy of injuries and weren't playing for anything, and so that game got flexed out. Then they didn't have anything in 2023. I don't really know why there. But then 2024, they had the game to start the season against the Lions. They should have won that game. They did not. And then the other Sunday Night Football game I was at, and let's just say it was the start of my losing streak at SoFi Stadium that I will be conquering in Week 15 against the Lions. But here we are. Rams are 1-3 in Sunday Night Football when Matthew Stafford is the starting quarterback. But also, the Rams are 6-0 when Clay Martin is the official for their games. And guess who is officiating this game?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say Clay Martin.
It is. I don't have any crazy fun facts about Clay Martin, but yeah, that's it. Clay Martin is the official.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that. So now we all have that information thanks to you. I am bummed you didn't give a fun fact because the last referee that you mentioned, I'm blanking on his name, he had the animal shelter that you shouted out.
Oh, yeah. Hussy?
Yeah.
Cuddly, yeah.
Yeah, well, all right, I guess we got to find a fun fact about Clay Martin. If anyone in the chat knows anything about him, feel free to share. But Jake, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, as I mentioned, they're led by Baker Mayfield, who Rams fans are very familiar with. He had that kind of very brief but like somewhat legendary run as a Los Angeles Ram that he says revitalized his career, which is true. If you kind of watch what happened, he kind of got his juice back in LA and then was able to go and kind of become the starter for Tampa Bay. This Tampa Bay team is pretty beaten up. We were talking about it before we went on air. You know, it's been on social media. This team, both offensively and defensively, is just not the same. They are getting Chris Godwin back at receiver, which I think is going to be a big help for them. But Jake, talking about this Tampa Bay team, I just think we'd be remiss if we didn't point out off the top that going into this game, they're missing a lot of pieces, and they're going to really have to scramble to kind of figure out if they have anything that could even kind of remotely match up against this Rams team.
Yeah, real quick, by the way, I did find some fun facts about Clay Martin.
Of course.
So let's get to know Clay Martin a little bit. So the thing I love about this is he took on officiating as a side hustle to earn extra money.
Wow.
He's actually a former high school basketball coach and a college athlete who was inducted in 2 separate Hall of Fames for his basketball career. He played basketball at Oklahoma Baptist University, OBU, where he set records for career assists and steals. So
what? Shout out Clay, baller.
Let's go, Clay. How about that? That's a new bit in our...
I was just about to say that it would be so funny if we turn this into a bit and that every episode we just start rattling off fun facts about the referees. And we
it's happening.
We're doing it. So now we know about Clay. So Clay played basketball at Oklahoma Baptist. I played soccer at Missouri Baptist.
Amazing.
There's like there's a kinship there between me
Yeah.
and Clay already off the bat, where I feel like I feel closer to him now that I know this information.
Also,
Um,
COVID-19 survivor in 2020, hospitalized, came out and officiated the divisional playoff game less than 2 weeks later. Boom.
he's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog
Everything
in him.
everything that I've heard, I'm impressed by Clay Martin. So,
Hell yeah.
um, okay, well, the more that we know, so that's sick for Clay. Um, Vibe shift talking about Tampa Bay's injuries, Jake. What is your impression of what this Tampa Bay team is right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is the time to get them, Alexis. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For Tampa Bay fans, it sucks. I mean, Chris Godwin will be back. That's a little help. He's not quite Chris Godwin of old. We'll see if he gets to that point at any point this year. But no, they're going through it. Bredesen, their left guard, is going to be out for this one. So is I'm always blanking on his name, Bucky Irving. He's also out. He will miss this game. So they're going to rely on Sean Tucker, and they're going to rely on White as well. They're also going to be without Jamel Dean, who is one of the best cornerbacks this year. He actually has the lowest targeted passer rating in football this season. So that's a significant loss, Alexis. I don't know, what's going to happen there. Also, Hassan Reddick is out. That's what I was trying to remember earlier. But then I got him confused with somebody who's completely different because he didn't go to Maryland. He went to Temple. So I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, so they're banged up. They are. And one thing I really want to point out is with this Bucs team right now, you just saw it against the Bills, who just got shellacked by the Texans. The problem right now with the Bucs is their linebackers can't cover at all. Like, it's bad. Servassier Dennis was basically, destroyed last week. Going against 13 personnel because the Rams aren't just going to stop running that with Tyler Higbee out. Like, it's going to be a mismatch there for Servassier Dennis, for Levante David, who isn't the Levante David of old, So that's something that's going to be interesting there. But up front, they're really going to need to get pressure on Stafford. I think you look at this defense and the entire possibility of Tampa winning this game somehow, because this is a David versus Goliath matchup with how banged up the Bucs are. They're not going to have Mike Evans either. I mean, he's been out for a while, but they're still not going to have him. The big thing for Tampa is they're going to have to get their safeties to continue to play at the level they're playing, and they're going to have to force some turnovers. Stafford has 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he has not thrown an interception since, week 3 against the Eagles, first drive of the game.
Yeah.
They are going to have to force some interceptions, and Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield, they've been playing very well in the back end of that, secondary. It's going to be tough, for them to do that, but they're a capable team of forcing turnovers. They did it on Josh Allen, which kept them in the game. But that's going to be a big thing for them, Alexis. And again, Jamel Dean being out means we're going to see Benjamin Morrison, who was getting absolutely roasted last week. And, I think he's got a good career ahead of him. I do, but he's not quite where they want him to be. And in addition to that, you got Jacob Parrish, the talented slot corner. He's going to get a lot of action in this one against the Rams. And then you got Zion McCollum, who's played very well. If Benjamin Morrison, who, by the way, is on the injury report for whatever reason, can't go, it's going to be up to Kendall Vildor. So, yeah, Tampa is feeling it right now. Their depth tested, and Anthony Nelson is going to fill in for Hassan Reddick as well. And he's not a bad player, but again, this is the time you want to play the Bucs. This is the time to play the Bucs.
And, looking at this defense, we'll talk about the Rams offense. And listen, our offense struggled against Seattle. When we kind of talked about the Seattle game, we talked about how we and most people thought that it was going to be an offensive shootout between these two teams. It ended up being the opposite. Both of these offenses got very rattled by the other's defense. So we saw the Rams struggle in a way that we hadn't in recent weeks. We had been seeing this Rams offense kind of heat up and really get into like a full stride, it seemed. And Adams and Stafford, their connection was great. We found rhythm in the run game, and then it felt like we played Seattle, and it just was a little bit of a culture shock. So the Rams just had that last week and are now going into Sunday Night Football against the Bucs. I'm not going to use the phrase "get right" because that doesn't feel fair. Because I do think this Bucs defense, even though they are injured, has a real opportunity to make things hard for the Rams again. So when I look at this Rams offense, I think, okay, what is the best approach here? Knowing that the Buccaneers defense is missing some of their key guys, are they going to try to target a Benjamin Morrison a lot, right? Are they going to try to test the secondary? But as you mentioned, Matthew, they're going to probably be looking for turnovers. Are we going to try to maybe get a better rhythm in the run game? Because it was interesting against Seattle. Kyren Williams was great in the ground. Blake Corum was the opposite. The Rams could not really figure out how to get a rhythm going in the run game, and then they completely abandoned it in a way that we felt was detrimental to them scoring more points because, again, Kyren Williams had 90 yards and off 10 carries or something. So, do we think that they try to reestablish a run game against the Bucs, see what they can get with that, then target the secondary? Or do you think that they come out swinging against Tampa Bay and test that secondary off the bat?
I think they're going to come out swinging against Tampa Bay and test the secondary. I do think they're going to run the football and they'll have some success, but I think it's going to be one of those Kyren Williams 80 yards, Blake Corum 45 to 50 yard games. I think it's going to be tested through the air. I think Stafford will be flirting with 300 yards. I think they're going to go after what, Tampa doesn't have. And that to me is Jamel Dean. He is the biggest absence of this entire game. Bucky Irving is talented. He's explosive, but I don't see how Bucky Irving is any different than going up against Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. The list goes on, right? The big issue is not having a shutdown corner like a Jamel Dean, who's been absolute nails. And so now you don't have him. Now you have two rookies starting out of your top three corners against seasoned veterans. I mean, Puka Nacua can win in zone. He can win in man. You can press him. He'll destroy you. And then Devontae Adams. I mean, look at what Devontae Adams can do, And so I just think that this is probably going to be one of those moments where Zion McCollum is the older guy in the room at corner, but even he's still somewhat young. This is going to be one of those games where I just think that the teachers are going to teach. And you look at Devontae Adams, you look at Puka Nacua, they're going to be mismatches for sure. And then you have 13 personnel, and you have the linebacker mismatch I talked about. It's just going to be really hard to stop the Rams. They should be able to do whatever they want. I understand, Tampa got to Drake May. They did. But this is also, they're losers of 3 of the last 4 games. They lost to Detroit 24-9. They beat New Orleans 23-3, but that game, they never really dominated. Mayfield only had 152 passing yards in that game, and they could barely run the football against New Orleans. Then you have the New England game, where Mayfield threw the most yards he's thrown since week 5 against Seattle, and they lose 28-23. And then they lose on the road in Buffalo 44-32, and Mayfield turns the ball over. It's really the Sean Tucker, game. And Buffalo's a team that Davis Mills just ripped them up. You know what I mean? So it's right now, Tampa's just not in a great spot. They need this win because the Panthers, if they were to win on Monday Night Football, would now all of a sudden make this division neck and neck. And I think Tampa's kind of assumed oh yeah, they're just going to run with this. Falcons are bad. The Saints are bad. But Carolina, they might not be the perfect team. They're pretty much a classic pretender. But if you just keep winning games, it's not really going to matter. You can still win the division as long as you keep winning. So yeah, I think looking at this, Alexis, Tampa's given up the 4th most passing yards the last 3 games at 271 per game. I'm expecting kind of the same. And as far as on the ground, I think good teams that can block can run against anybody. And the Rams have been able to run against anybody. There's not one team this year where I felt I know maybe Kyron's yards weren't quite there because he didn't get the carries, but there wasn't one team this year where I was like, you just can't run against this team. They ran against Seattle. They've had no issues running against teams. The only time anybody stops the Rams is when the Rams choose to stop the Rams. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to start off with the pass, set up the run, and I think they're going to win this game comfortably.
You know who I'm really excited to see get more action is Terrence Ferguson. And we talk
This could
about
be the
him
game
so
for
much.
it.
And I agree. I think this is going to be the game for it. You got Higbee out, right? And we've started to see them utilize Terrence Ferguson more. I think that this could be the game where if the Bucs allow the pass, which I think they will, you could start to see the Rams get, pretty creative. Obviously Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, that's a no-brainer. That's been working. That we know that works. We have found that connection with Adams in the red zone, right? But I would like to see Terrence Ferguson get involved. I would like to even see Davis Allen get involved more. I'd like to see the Rams get a little bit creative, against the Bucs offensively, see what they could do, especially after that Seattle game. I think they need to bounce back. They had a really good rhythm offensively up until Seattle. It felt like they kind of were having their way with whoever they wanted, and they were able to kind of get what they wanted done with very little resistance, but we'll see. If we talk about this Buccaneers defense, I think that this is a possibility for them to be able to do that on Sunday Night Football. Can't take anything for granted, obviously, but I suspect the same. I think that the Rams are going to try to establish a presence through the air. And who knows, maybe we see another Matthew Stafford 4-touchdown game. Would love to see it on Sunday Night Football, right? We need another primetime win, a primetime performance from these Rams, because a couple of these past primetime games haven't gone that well for us. But Jake, looking at our defense going against Tampa's offense, which we've kind of talked about. Bucky Irving will be out. The receiver room is a little banged up, but they are getting Chris Godwin back, which is huge for them. He's a veteran in this league, has always been a very, very consistent receiver, NFL veteran there. You've got Baker Mayfield, who we've talked about, who's been having, I think all things considered, a pretty good year. And I think that he, a lot of people when he went to Tampa, I think counted him out. And he's certainly proved people wrong, and he's a very good leader for his team, very good player. So you're going to see him there. Ibuka, their rookie, who
yes. I love him.
Yeah, I loved him too. He's having a very, very good rookie year. Another rookie receiver, Tez Johnson, who is pretty much right now with all the injuries going to be their wide receiver 3, I believe. So he's kind of jumped up, their wide receiver depth with the injuries. So Jake, looking at this Bucs offense, knowing the injuries they have, knowing our defense, what do you suspect that they're going to try to do? Do you think that they're going to, use Sean Tucker and like Rashad White and try to maybe wear the Rams down via the run? Or do you think that they're going to try to get those rookie receivers involved, try to get things going through the air? Because that's what I believe they're going to do. Just because I think they've got better options through the air looking at this on paper right now. Irving is such a loss for them in the backfield. And, Sean Tucker last week, it did pretty well. I like Sean Tucker. I believe he was out of Syracuse because I remember watching his tape. Yeah, out of Syracuse, upstate New York guy, Jake. They got Rashad White, who's another kind of veteran presence in this league. So, maybe they try to get that going, but I just feel like that, they're going to try. I think they're going to try to go through the air, but what do you think that they're going to try to do?
Yeah, I think they're going to try to establish the run. They are going to try. If they're not able to do that, then they'll go through the air. I think they're going to go with the short passing attack, get the ball out quickly for Mayfield because he's not great against the blitz, and the Rams can blitz him, and they can force turnovers just like they did on Sam Darnold. That was the biggest way to beat Sam Darnold. He's not great against the blitz, whereas Matthew Stafford shreds the blitz. There are quarterbacks that absolutely shred when you try and blitz them. Quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford for sure, but then you have other quarterbacks as well. Jalen Hurts does a really good job against the blitz. Then you look at, Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love. Like, there are guys in this league that are really good. Well, Baker Mayfield has a 74 passer rating against the blitz. He is not really good against the blitz. And so I am expecting them to get creative here. Without Quentin Lake, they're going to have to try and do things a little bit differently. And so I do expect that to happen. And I also expect them to try and take advantage because Quentin Lake is out. The Rams are going to be a little bit lighter in the secondary. Try and run the football, So it'll be interesting to see how it works. Josh Wallace is expected to start at the star. And then also in that kind of mix is Roger McCreary, who was a huge pickup at the deadline for them. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I think, kind of looking at Tampa, their key is going to be, we saw, how many touches, what's his face, AJ Barner got. Wouldn't be surprised if they really rely on K-Dot and his well to move the chains. But it was very interesting. Sterling Shepard, who I believe he played with Baker Mayfield in college. I think they had that connection. So yeah. Sterling Shepard was the leading receiver last week with 54 yards. That's not going to cut it. But you have Chris Godwin, you have Shepard, and of course you have Emeka Ibuka. And then, they had a passing touchdown to Sean Tucker as well. I think they're going to try and get creative as well. They're going to get wheel routes going. Tez Johnson's going to take the top off the defense occasionally. They're going to try and see if the deep ball is there. I don't think it will be because of the way the Rams play their defense. They keep everything in front of them. But I think the big thing is that Tampa is going to try to eliminate how much pressure Baker Mayfield receives. And the best way to do that is to beat the pressure getting there by getting rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I still think, that they're going to try to probably get something going with the receivers as well. But if they do get rid of the ball quickly, they could maybe look at what the 49ers did with Mac Jones, right, against this Rams defense. That was frustrating. Now, do I think that they're going to replicate that? I don't know. We have no idea. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I do think that listen, it's Sunday Night Football. I know Baker Mayfield. He's going to want to be throwing that ball downfield. I think he's going to try to be mobile with his legs. Those young receivers, I think, are going to continue to have a consistent game for them. But I just don't see how they're a matchup for this Rams defense right now. This Rams defense is very, very good, very underrated. Last week we kind of were talking about the offense, right, all week long, and then look who shows up. It's the defense. It's the defense that gets the job done. So I think that they're gonna have some fun potentially against this Bucs offense, Jake. But overall, just looking at this matchup before we kind of get into predictions and score, and we've got some supers that I've already seen come in, which is awesome, in the chats. I just think looking at this Tampa team, I have a lot of respect for Baker Mayfield. I will always look at him fondly, and I think that he, and I know that you've talked about this as well, he and Sean McVay, in a kind of indirect way, revitalized each other's careers. If you listen to what Baker says about coming to LA, and you listen to, how McVay talks about kind of that time and that headspace that he was in during that season, and he was kind of questioning things, and I think that they kind of got together, and it was very brief, but it was kind of this magical moment where they realized how much they loved the game of football, and they were able to kind of go out there and put together something out of nothing. There was not much. The Rams were pretty banged up, right? So it is going to be a little bittersweet seeing Baker Mayfield at SoFi, but I know that we've been rooting him on, and he has said nothing but nice things this week about the Rams and about Matthew Stafford. He's been a class act, so that's going to be fun to see him out there. All of that being said, I hope that they can't score. All of that being said, I am not cheering at all for his success on the football field Sunday night, against the Rams. That was why I wanted to really talk him up before I just shattered that dream for him. But Jake,
that's fair.
On that note, predictions.
Yeah, before we get into predictions, by the way, I do think Baker is going to run it more than Sam Darnold did. So I do think the Rams, who did operate, I don't know if anybody caught it, but they did have some plays where they used a spy, whether that was, Josh Wallace, I think, on one of the plays. I saw Byron Young went out and was used as the spy. They're probably going to have to do that because Baker's one of those guys, once he's ready and he's moving and everything, he'll just keep running. And you can't let a guy like that just keep running. He's going to tear you apart because that's not all he can do. Now all of a sudden his legs are opening up other parts of the field that weren't available until he did that. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, I definitely do think that he might try to get mobile, especially if the receiving game doesn't end up working. And he's just Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's his
That's why you
thing.
don't want this game to be close, because
Yeah.
if you keep him at like an arm's length, you'll win this game pretty easily. But as soon as you let Baker back in the game, he's one of the
Hmm.
more clutch quarterbacks in the league, and he's made some incredible drives this year. You look at that Jets game, the field goal block, Jets take it back. It looks like they won the game. Baker doesn't bat an eye. They go down the field, they kick the game-winning field goal. I mean, that's Baker Mayfield in a nutshell. And you talk about the Texans game as well. You know, earlier in the year,
Hmm.
the Falcons game, like he's had some huge drives. So just don't keep him in it, and then those huge drives can be done in garbage time.
Well, yeah, and that's just another, reason kind of why the Rams need to play a complete game. Like one of the criticisms I think that the Rams have earned this season has been complete games have not been um consistent, right? Where, we talk about how like they'll have like a really, really good first half and then all of a sudden, and this was mostly earlier in the season. This hasn't happened in the past few games, but they have a really, really good first half and then they start to kind of slip through the second half or vice versa or whatever it is, where you don't want to do that against Baker Mayfield, as you said. You don't want to kind of like play, we talk a lot about getting conservative at the end of the first half and not taking points, right? How like the Rams will be up by like a touchdown or two touchdowns and they kind of like at the end of the first half kind of just don't go for it and they like play super conservatively and you don't put points on the board. And then how many times have we seen that happen where then in the second half the other team comes out charged up and then it becomes a closer game than we want. So that cannot be something that you do against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, just because of who Baker is and how good he is at coming back in games. Um, and also it's prime time and I am, addressing the elephant in the room. It is so nerve-wracking watching the Rams play in prime time. It just is. I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't think anybody likes watching their team play in prime time because it is like I was telling Jake off air how I kind of have this thing every year where the Rams are really good, and I talk to my friends, and most of my friends aren't Rams fans, so I'd be talking up the Rams, and I'll be like, yeah, they're so good, like they're legit, they're contenders, whatever, right? And then a primetime game happens, and the Rams like have embarrassed me on primetime. So it's like I pretend that it's not happening until the day of. I don't talk up to my like to people anymore about like, oh yeah, the Rams are going to be in Sunday Night Football this week. I just don't mention it because I'm getting superstitious. Like, please don't come out in prime time and make me look like a fool for everything I've said, which has happened and it's happened to everybody who's watched their team play in prime time. But I think that the way that the Rams are playing and Matthew Stafford, has been playing this season, I am expecting. Um, Big things Sunday night, but I would be remiss and I would be disingenuous if I didn't say that I have that like little fear in my chest where I'm like, oh my God, please don't like do something so out of character in prime time. Because we know how good this team is. Like, how good this team is. They're Super Bowl contenders. I think that they're going to be in the Super Bowl, but you never know. They could come out one night and just absolutely, for whatever reason, just not play that way. So
I'm
we'll
not
see.
worried, Alexis. I'm not, because I
I'm not
feel
worried
like,
logically.
yeah, I mean, my week 5 experience, I just don't think the Rams, like Devontae Adams and Stafford weren't even on the same page yet, and now they are. There's so many different ways and avenues the Rams can win a game that I'm just not concerned at all. Like
I'm not, I
the
think they
only
win.
game, the only game that I'm genuinely like they could lose, and honestly, I think I'm gonna pick them to lose is that Seahawks game, Week 16.
Yeah.
And I never picked the Rams to lose, but I feel like Seattle's gonna win that one. But I mean, I feel really good about this game, and I was just going over and I'm like, why? Tampa's not a bad football team, and they're good on the road. So like, why do I feel so confident about this game? And the reality is they're banged up, but even if they weren't, I don't really fear anybody. Like Seattle, I think, we already saw that. But I mean, as far as anyone else, it's why I'm so convinced it's the Rams and Seahawks as the two best teams. Like the Carolina game could get weird because Carolina plays well at home, but there's like, I'm not sitting there like Bryce Young is going to tear us to shreds. Like that's where I'm like, I can't see Bryce Young outdueling Stafford. And then the Cardinals game, like just because they haven't played the Cardinals yet doesn't mean like, oh, trap game. I don't think so. I think they're going to roll the Cardinals. And then who else they have? The Lions. I think they're going to beat the Lions because Jared Goff is horrible against pressure. And I think they're going to pressure him all game long. And I don't think they have enough to go toe to toe with the Rams, especially without, they're going to be without him for the rest of the year. Sam Laporta. I don't know if you saw the news. So,
yeah. Well, let me be clear. I am not nervous in a logical sense. This Rams team, there's no excuse for them to not win. Like, spoiler alert when we do our predictions. There is no excuse for the Rams team to lose on Sunday night. But because there is no excuse and because it's prime time, I have scars from my past.
I mean,
have trauma.
I get it.
And it's the superstitious fear. It's not the logical fear of like me questioning how talented this Rams team is. It's me questioning just the way that the universe loves to embarrass me, right? And it uses things that could easily hurt me. And that is why, and I'm seeing so many people in the comments saying the same thing about how they're like, I don't like it when my team plays in primetime either for this reason. So I do get a little bit antsy watching my team in primetime. It's not my favorite thing, especially in situations like this where it's like, okay, they should win this handedly. So Rams, if you're listening, universe, if you're listening, just no funny business. Just clean football game. Let the talent speak for itself. With that, Jake, let's get into predictions for this week. And you know what? Before we get into predictions, I actually want to throw it to Sleeper really quick. Do our sleeper break.
Yes.
Handing the metaphorical mic to you.
I appreciate that. So, in case you missed it, Sleeper's the sponsor of this channel. If you're new here, then yes, welcome. You're probably just now realizing that. Sleeper's an awesome sponsor. They also have an awesome app that I highly recommend you check out. You can do so with the link in the description. Use the promo code JKB to get a 100% match up to $100. And you get a $20 free entry without deposit if you haven't already used it. So, Sleeper's great. If you're looking for fantasy football, dynasty fantasy, or daily fantasy, they got you covered. So be sure to check out Sleeper again. Promo code is JKBoy. All right.
You boy. Didn't like that.
Yeah, well.
Didn't like that as soon as it came out of my mouth. We can cut this, right? We can edit this in post. We can scratch that.
I'm keeping it.
We can do it and maybe I can re-record a different word and then put it in there so that way when people listen on audio streaming
that's
tomorrow,
too much effort.
When this comes out, well, it's really not that difficult in theory. I mean, all you have to do is take the audio, scrub it out, listen, re-listen.
That is not my job.
put in a new audio, then push it through the system, and then when it uploads, it will be perfect and it will just sound like I said something else, right?
No.
That's how this works?
No, we keep it. That's why we go live. You talk about transparency. We're very transparent.
Well, we should stop.
Well, we shouldn't because that is the embodiment. What you get. Yeah, that is the embodiment of DTR, right? I mean, go back to the draft.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is live for 8 hours. Things get real weird. I'm seeing people in the comments saying that they're going to clip it. So, well,
I mean, hey, you know what?
That's exactly what I knew would happen.
That's what it's all about. AI Lexus Craft incoming, says Dos X 93. That's Alex.
Shout out Alex, longtime listener. I'm so afraid for the day when I've already gotten it before. People have made AI videos of me and pictures and all that, and I'm like scared. I'm scared.
This would actually be really fun. I've traveled too much. I'm going to Rams Lions, but someday I want to go to Seattle because I've never been, and I think it'd be cool.
I want to go so bad. I just want to go to Seattle in general because I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. So I always every year I'm like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna plan my like Oregon, Washington trip, right? And I'm gonna like take a week or however and like do Pacific Northwest. And I just haven't gotten I'm sorry, I'm laughing because somebody asked if I was chugging vodka. No, this is water. Sorry,
It'd
I
be
saw
like
that
that.
comment. I saw that comment come through and it just made me laugh. I've never gone to the Pacific Northwest, and so I have told myself that if I the Rams are there at least once a year, right, in Seattle, so I'm like I will plan it around a Rams trip so I can go to Lumen Stadium. Um, but yeah, I would love to do that. It's not going to be this season at this point, but maybe next year. I'll tell myself next year.
Yeah.
Next year will be my year. I'm going to do the Seattle thing.
Yeah, I gotta have it's gotta be a write off for me. So for me to
Hmm.
be able to justify it. So yeah, if I planned it around a Rams game, I would very much consider it. That's I'll be there at some point. I just don't know when it'll be, but it won't be this year. But Alana, appreciate the invite. I think
I appreciate it.
that would be
Guys,
cool.
I promise that it's water.
I
I
believe you.
if
Also,
it was
like
vodka, you would know. You
you're
would know
not
at this point in
chugging
the
vodka
podcast.
like that without having any sort of mannerism.
No, I'm not built like that. If this was vodka, I'd be like choking.
Did you
And
see what CD
also
Lamb said?
in the chat,
No, CD Lamb. Did you see like
oh, like actual CD lamb. No.
so apparently he and George Pickens were like just downing alcohol at like this like casino or whatever, and they missed curfew, and somebody said like there was a rumor that was like he threw up, and he's like, shame on you, I can hold my alcohol. And, like he got all like hurt about it.
Is that the real reason that they were benched the first drive?
Yes.
Ah, see, I never cared to look into why. I saw that they were benched and I just was like, whatever.
I don't
Um,
That's like when
Interesting.
college used to suspend when they suspend Baker Mayfield for a quarter. And like
I'm sure. Yeah,
Oklahoma was like down against like the Citadel or some shit, and then Baker came in for the rest of the game and they won by like 50. It's so
that sounds like a
silly.
Baker Mayfield story. Guys, I'm seeing someone else in the comments said cut water. Um, but it's
Ah,
not. It's pure water, tap water. This is actually filtered water, but whatever.
ooh. Well, Alexis and I both, because we've traveled together a decent amount, and I
Yeah,
would say restaurants are a big deal. And so, if you're saying there are good restaurants on the waterfront in Seattle, I'm gonna
I
take your
believe
word
you.
for that.
Yeah, well, I trust me, when I go to Seattle, I'm gonna like really do it. I want to go to the waterfront. I want to go to Pike, that market. Is it called Pike Place or Pike
And we both
Market?
like grunge music, so I wonder if they have any like, do they have like a grunge Hall of Fame or something that we could
I
visit? Like,
I'm gonna be I would be so obnoxious about that. There's a movie. But sorry guys, we are getting into our predictions. And I did see someone in the comment. Everyone in the comments is guys. I don't get drunk after the Rams lose, and also I don't like sparkling water. Anyways, last thing I'm going to say before we get into predictions, there's a movie, and I'm totally blanking on the name. I have to Google it. It's the Drew Barrymore, and it's a Drew Barrymore movie, and it's set in Seattle in the 90s, and it's called Mad Love. Okay, there's a Drew Barrymore
hmm.
movie set that was filmed in the 90s, set in Seattle in the 90s called Mad Love. And I just love the aesthetic of that movie because it's so 90s grunge. Like Seattle 90s grunge, iconic. It's such a very specific vibe that is so just distinct to the Seattle area. I mean, I know everybody thinks of like Nirvana, right? But like it was so much bigger than that. And so if anyone checks that movie out, yeah, Chris O'Donnell, someone in the chat, Chris O'Donnell and Drew Barrymore were both in that movie and it was great. Anyways,
You are indeed a Chicago Bulls fan.
I am, and I mean, I'm missing their game right now, but after this, I'll watch the end of their game. I am a big Chicago Bulls fan, born and raised.
This is the weirdest week to be a Laker fan. They have like two games. They had a game Tuesday and they have a game Sunday. Who created this scheduling? It's bizarre. Um,
Yeah.
Soundgarden, hell yeah, I love Soundgarden. Um, Stone Temple Pilots. I'm not as big on Nirvana as you know, Alexis.
Which
I'm not
of
as.
course, because I like Nirvana a lot.
I
And
don't
we're
hate
never like,
Nirvana, but all right. So my hot take of all the bands that are called grunge, the best grunge band is Alice in Chains, in my personal opinion. They are
I'm super not
fantastic.
I'm super not familiar with them. So like,
Well,
um,
you got some homework tonight. You're gonna be listening to Dirt.
somebody in the comments said I thought she used to live in St. Louis. I am from St. Louis. My dad is from, I live in Chicago now. My dad is from Chicago though. So growing up, I didn't have an NBA team, and my dad was raised a Bulls fan, so I was raised a Bulls fan. So, um,
Hell yeah.
and as much as I could talk about that for hours and hours and hours, Jake,
So
we
you
got to
will
get
be
into our
listening to Dirt though, right? You'll check it out.
I will think about that, and I will sit and I will think about it, and I will ruminate, and I will do a cost uh analysis. I'm blanking on what word I was looking for there, but I will do a pros and cons, and then I will think about it some more, and then I will get back to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll answer this real quick and then we'll get into it.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of 49er fans who have pea-sized brains, and I'm better than all of them. So that's really that. Like, I'm
Shots
just being
fired.
honest. Alexis is better than all of them, too. So are you, by the way. But that's not saying much because they're not worth even. They don't move you 1
Trolls be
millimeter.
trolls.
Trolls be
Trolls be
trolls.
trolls.
The people who don't have a profile picture of themselves and they don't have their actual name are the people that go after the people with profile pictures and their actual name, and then they post it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's funny to me. Anyway.
Anyways, back to the Los Angeles Rams. Jake,
Yes.
we've kind of previewed this matchup against the Bucs. We have talked about what we think is going to happen, but now it's time to get into specifics. Do you want to go back and forth?
Yeah,
Or
let's
do
do
you
the
want to
whole
give...
back and forth, the zig and
All
the
right.
zag. Let's do
I'll
it.
let you go first.
All right.
First prediction.
First prediction. I'm going to say both Colby Parkinson and Terrence Ferguson are catching tutties in this game and going
I
for at
love
least
it.
50 yards receiving each.
I love that because I do think that that's going to happen. So that's a great prediction. Okay, let me think of one real quick. Someone in the chat asked me, what do I call Panera if I'm from St. Louis? There's only right answer. And what I call that restaurant is Breadco. That's
Panera's
what we
from
call it.
St. Louis, isn't it?
Yeah, so in St. Louis, it's
Yep.
called St. Louis Bread Company. But if you
Mhm.
live in St. Louis, you'll say, want to go to Breadco.
I see you.
But everywhere else, it's Panera. And now that I've been living in Chicago so long, it's just, unfortunately, I have to call it Panera because no one knows what I'm talking about. If I say Breadco, they're like, what? So I don't really get to call it Breadco unless I'm home, which kind of
The
sucks.
more you know.
But you know what? Breadco's the real name, guys, not Panera. Okay, so my first prediction is I'm not going to do a tight end one because you just did a tight end one. I'll say this. I think that the Rams are getting 2+ interceptions again.
Oh,
I think that Baker Mayfield's gonna freak out a little bit. I think that they're gonna get, listen, last week I said 2+ interceptions. They ended up getting 4. I would love to see that happen again, but let's say 2, and anything more than that counts. I'll say 2+. I just think that like Seattle is gonna have to eventually try to get something going through the air.
Tampa.
Sorry, Tampa. You know what? Why I said Seattle?
Because we just had an entire bit about Seattle.
Well, you would think the reason I said Seattle is because I was about to say similar to what happened to Sam Darnold last week.
Mm.
I was like picturing Sam Darnold in my brain, and then I said Seattle. But I like your answer better. That's more fun. No, I think that the Bucs, if they're gonna want to try to keep up with the Rams, which I think the Bucs are gonna get to a point in the game, where it's like do or die. I think that Baker's gonna start to get a little rattled, and yeah, I think 2+ interceptions for this Rams defense.
I like it. I'm gonna go with. I really like the job that Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano did last week against the Buccaneers. I don't know why their linebackers ate last week. So give me Nate Landman and Omar Spates are going to combine for over 20 tackles in this game.
Love it.
I'm going with like different ones. I don't know if you noticed.
These are kind of different.
20 tackles and a forced fumble. There we go.
Well, my next prediction is also defensive. And you know what? I think Jared Verse is getting 2 sacks this game.
Hell yeah.
Because I think, I've just, people have been really unfair. And we talked about this, I think last episode as well. People have been kind of unfair to Jared Verse, and everyone's talking about sacks, and everybody's going on and on and on. And I'm like, you know what? Sunday Night Football, Jared Verse stepped up in prime time last season, for us, particularly in the playoffs. And I know that this isn't a playoff game. I know this is a very different situation, but it is prime time, and I'm sure that he's heard the chatter. And I just think he's due, and I'm going Jared Verse 2+ sacks.
That'll be a career high for him because he only had 4.5 last year, but he had a boatload of pressures. That's for damn sure. All right, so I got 2 so far. So I'm going to say, all right, let's do this. I'm going to say that Matthew Stafford throws for 300+ yards and 3+ touchdowns.
Okay.
I already predicted 2 touchdowns, so ooh, that's so bold.
Mine was Matthew Stafford 4 passing touchdowns.
All right, let's just go with yours. I'll do another one. Yeah.
All right.
Because mine is Weenie Hut Juniors. We got, all right, let's do it. Puka Nacua over 100. I'm going to say over 125 yards. I'm going to say 12 catches in this one.
Love
12
it.
plus. Yeah.
Puka getting active.
Yes.
Are we gonna do our secret 4th prediction that's never secret because we've just started doing 4 instead of 3?
Yes, we are.
Okay. It's not even like, now we're just, I think that's the standard. Oh man. You know what I did last week is I did a Mevis one because, obviously special teams. It would have been so funny if like the predictions for special teams started being like, and we're gonna make every single kick. Because that for a time wasn't guaranteed. That would have been like very passive aggressive. So let's say, you know what? I think the Rams are going to block a kick. Because so Chase McLaughlin is just coming back, right? The Bucs kicker.
I think so. Yes.
So he's just coming back. Their kicker was out. I'm going to say that the Rams block a kick.
And I'm going to wrap this up with a combination. I'm going to say that, screw it. I'm going to go with Harrison Mevis to hit 2 50+ yard field goals in this game.
Love it. I love it.
That's kind of, I've been feeling it, and I was going to combine it with something else, but I was like, screw it. Let's just do it. So yeah, Harrison Mevis, 2 50+ yard field goals in this one.
And now that we've got our predictions in, Jake, the only thing left to say is the score, which we can allude to because we've both given plenty of touchdown predictions. But Jake, what is the final score? The clock hits 0, end of the 4th quarter. What's the outcome?
4 touchdowns, 2 field goals for the Rams, putting them at a total of 34 points. Fun fact, the last time they played the Buccaneers at SoFi Stadium was with Tom Brady at the helm. They won 34-24. So I'm going to have them winning 34-21. I think Tampa gets a touchdown at the end of the game, kind of in garbage time, similar to the 49ers. So yeah, Rams win 34-21, 3 touchdowns for Tampa, one of which comes in garbage time. Rams move to 9-2.
I have 31-16 Rams.
We have the
So,
same type of feeling. This
yeah.
isn't going to be. Yeah, I understand a lot of people are going to have like a close game. And I saw a ton of predictions where I just don't know how this is close. Because like the Rams the offense is going to be pissed off from last week. They didn't score a lot. And the defense is just so good that I just can't see a shootout occurring. Because if a shootout didn't occur last week, why the hell is it going to occur this week?
Right.
That's my thing. So, yeah.
That's how I feel
34-21.
too. Well, we are both predicting a Rams win, which is what matters. And with that, Jake, we've got some supers.
Super chats.
Super
Let's
chat,
see.
super fly. Didn't like that either.
We're keeping it. It'd be like that. All right. Matthew, appreciate the 10. Wondering if you guys saw the podcast where Stafford and Kershaw were talking about some Texas high school football legend, Jake Felt. Wondering if he was for real or just an inside joke with them. I didn't see it. Did you see this?
I did not. I have no idea, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think Jake Felt is real. I don't think he's like a made up person. But anyway. That's an interesting one, Matthew. Appreciate the
maybe
super
someone in the
chat.
chat knows.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat. Zaylor Swift, thank you for the 5. Keeping Matthew
Zaylor
upright and Puka healthy for playoffs needs to be the priority. Run that ball. Also, any news on Tutu? Yes, he will be back next week. And I have some news on Akello Witherspoon. He's likely going to return for week 14 against the Arizona Cardinals. We love that. So they are getting healthy. And I'll say this. We didn't really touch on it. Some people disagree with me. It's a shame. 3 captains go down. Quentin Lake is the biggest loss of them all. Rob Havenstein, love him. Longest tenured Ram. Was not playing as well as Warren McClendon Jr. And Tyler Higbee, love him as well, but they can live without Tyler Higbee for now. They can. I love Higbee. I want him back, obviously, but injuries this late in the season can be a lot worse. So Rams will be getting back a number 1 corner to a secondary that, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, PFF actually graded the Rams as the number 1 coverage team in the league. So that's pretty good. And then they'll be getting back Tutu Atwell, their field stretcher, who can really take the top off of any defense. I think that's going to be key and critical against the Carolina Panthers, who have a really good corner in J.C. Horn. It'll kind of create some separation, create some spacing. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But Tutu Atwell will be back next week, according to Sean McVay, and Akello Witherspoon should be back the week after. And if it's not against the Cardinals, he will definitely be back for the Lions game. Chach, thank you for the super. Hi, Jake and Alexis. Go Cowboys, Rams, or Cowboys, Ravens, Rams. My team's better win. Ravens are playing the Jets. Cowboys are playing the Eagles, so I'll be rooting for the Cowboys like they're the Rams this week. And the Rams are obviously playing the Bucs like we talked about. So, yeah, I hope all of your teams win.
I do as well.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, man, it would be so cool if the Cowboys could beat the Eagles and the Rams, say the Rams do take out Seattle and they sweep them on the year and they win out. The Rams get the 1 seed. Seattle has to go play in LA. I mean, that would be awesome. Zaylor Swift, thank you for the 5. How many draft picks would the Rams give up for Max Crosby? Asking friend. I think 0, because I just don't think that they would trade for Crosby. I think the growing feeling is that they're obviously going to want to pay Jared Verse, and they're going to try and bring back Byron Young. And they have Josiah Stewart, and they feel like they're in a good spot. You know, they'll probably add another guy in the mid rounds of this upcoming draft. And, you know, they also had Jesse Luketa, kind of interesting little pickup. You know, we'll see if he sticks with the roster or not. But, like, they like their room right now. Nick Hampton's had a solid year. He's not asked to do a lot, but when he comes in, he succeeds. So, yeah, I I don't see them giving up a lot for Crosby. They didn't do anything at the deadline, and this was the type of year where it's like you could have argued they could have gone all in. They did not. I think they're done with that, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I just think, position wise as well, I don't know that they're looking
Yeah, I mean, we
that
interviewed
much.
Max. I mean, he's great, but,
We did. He's great.
he's probably going to end up on like the 49ers or some shit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, Deontay, thank you for the 5. I think the
Thank
Rams
you.
win, but I fear we will get Baker on MVP mode Sunday. Bucs need a win to stay ahead of Carolina, so they will play desperate. We shall see.
We shall see.
Matthew, thank you for the 10.
Thank you,
Old
Matthew.
school classic rock guy here, but Alice in Chains is my favorite group, period. Dirt is the best album ever made. Okay, Alexis, how do you feel now? Miss Lane so
Cost-benefit
much. He was
analysis.
one of a kind. Yeah, it's not talked about nearly enough. I know a lot of people talk about Kurt Cobain's passing, but Lane Staley passing is incredibly sad as well. And his voice, because he does now, I forget who is it. Anyway, they are still a band. It's just obviously Lane Staley is not the voice anymore. He is the lead singer in Dirt. I'm telling you, you probably heard some of the songs before, especially
Probably.
Them Bones. It was in Madden. So yeah, I think you'll like them. They're really good. And they got a good combination of the like heavy, but they also got some like slower, softer bangers as well. I know, softer bangers. That is an interesting combo, but I mean, it really is. They just kick ass. I don't know. Alex, thank
Thank you,
you for the
Alex.
2. 2-2 as the fullback and 13 personnel is going to be epic. Well, I guess you technically could
Yeah.
implement that, although I don't know if I would recommend it. But yeah, I want to end the show by saying this, okay? There's a recent event. The 49ers are likely going to move on from Brandon Ayuk after the season. And I'm just throwing it out there. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Rams. I do, next year when he is released. He fits the offense like a glove. We're always hearing about how toxic the 49ers organization is. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. Let's not just assume that he's the bad guy in this one. And the thing, you'd have the familiarity factor because he knows the offense. Devontae Adams may or may not be back next year. That's going to be $28 million against the cap. So we'll see if the Rams choose to bring him back or not, or if he retires outright. And in addition to that, you have a guy who's 27 years old who would likely need some sort of 1-year prove-it deal after not playing this year and could be had for a decent price. If you have, say Stafford doesn't retire after the season, I don't think he will, you're adding more weapons, making it easier for Stafford. And I'm more open to taking on guys. I'm not saying go out and get everybody who has ever had injury concerns. But I'm more open than ever taking guys with some injury concerns because of the depth the Rams currently have with Mumfield and Whittington. So that's where I'm at on that. I don't know where you are, Alexis. I didn't talk to you about it before the show, but I thought it was interesting. And I actually love the fit of Brandon Ayuk in LA next year. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happened because I'll tell you right now, if they're going to cut him, man, if I was cut by a team, I'd go right to their rival. That's where I would go. And I'd definitely go right to their rival that runs the same offense as they do and also is potentially the Super Bowl champions. Just saying. Food for thought.
I haven't thought about him coming to the Rams. So I'm not entirely sure. Probably inclined to say no because I don't know. I think that the vibes aren't great.
They said the same thing about
But
Devontae. I
but
even
yeah,
said the
who
same thing
knows?
about Devontae. I've
Who
learned my lesson.
knows? We'll see. But yeah, haven't interesting to think about. But what I will say before we log off, guys, if you have Instagram, go follow us on Instagram because we're starting to use that more. We're posting reels, putting posting on there, so would appreciate it if you guys give us a follow there at Downtown Rams. Jake and I are also both active on Instagram, and I'm sharing stuff from DTR on my personal page as well. So is Jake. You can follow us on Instagram as well. You can follow us on Twitter/X. I'm at the Alexis Craft. Jake is at JK Bogan. And guys, we will be back either Monday or Tuesday next week to recap the Sunday night game against the Bucs. But until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.